Even be the next hour. So the question is, what did we do last time as we were leaving off? We had Joseph founding a city. Can you name the city? Nauvoo, but can you name all of its names?
Half-breed land.
Half-breed land.
Atlantis, Commerce, City of Joseph, Nauvoo.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we got all the lands, and today we're going to start out Joseph Smith. Our year is going to be, welcome, it's going to be 1842, and the plan that we'll do at least the first hour is to get us from 1842 in May to the winter of 1843. And you're going to see that although we're talking about Nauvoo, we're going to spend actually a little bit of time talking about a place called Independence. What state is Independence in? Missouri. And okay, as we start out, we're going to first, well, all right. So we're going to start out today on May 4th of 1842. By May 4th of 1842, Nauvoo was a very, very large community. In fact, it was so large that some people even claim that Nauvoo rivaled Chicago. By May 4th, 1842, mayor of Nauvoo was none other than the prophet Joseph Smith. Now, okay, so we're going to leave Joseph in a town that is becoming very industrial. It's actually now has 4 ports, just like there had been the big hope of the land speculators for commerce. So all of a sudden, you know, it really is kind of on the map. But we're going to leave Joseph in Nauvoo, and we're going to turn our attention now to May 6th of 1842. And on May 6, 1842, we look back at Independence, Missouri. Living in Independence was a man whose name is Lilburn W. Boggs. Okay, remember he was the governor. He was the governor who had issued the extermination order. Well, by May 6 of 1842, Governor Boggs has thrown his hat in the political arena with the idea he has now announced that he would like to run for senator to represent Missouri in Washington, D.C. There is some question, will he win? You'd say some people think he's popular because he's kicked the Mormons out of his state. Other people will say, no, he almost bankrupted the state because he built a new governor's mansion. So you have, you know, and then political enemies. But on May 6th, you get this Governor Boggs. Welcome, everyone. Okay, good. Okay, on May 6th, you get this Governor Boggs. Governor Boggs is in his house. He's in what we would call a study. And while in the study, he's at his desk, and he's reading, and right across the street is a saloon. Well, on May 6, 1842, while Governor Boggs is in Independence, Missouri, he's now reading at his desk. Suddenly, someone who's now going to come forward to attempt to shoot him, who does everybody say it was? Okay, Orrin Porter Rockwell, and everyone will accuse him. He always said, you know, I didn't try to shoot Boggs. If I had shot Boggs, he would have been dead. And so, okay, but here's Boggs. He's now reading at his desk when suddenly this unknown kind of assailant now comes up and shoots him with buckshot. So what's buckshot? Okay, he's going, what? Okay, it's like maybe like a little BBs, you know, little tiny pieces of lead. And where this lead lands, they shoot him up in his cheekbones. A lot of it goes in his throat, some down into his chest. He literally falls on the desk. His head's in a pool of blood. And family members, as he has screamed, have now rushed into the room. In the meantime, the man who had attempted to kill him has now fled the scene and is not caught. Well, you can imagine that now Governor Boggs, who's running for what office at this point? Senator. Okay, to represent Missouri in Washington, D.C., as he now literally teeters, like a teeter-totter, okay, as he teeters between life and death, you get all kinds of people trying to put forward, I know who tried to kill you. And so some will say, you know, you got political enemies. They were the ones that tried to kill you. Others will say, oh, no, you have financial enemies, that your actions almost bankrupted our state. They're the ones that tried to kill you. Others will say, no, that's not it. You still own that general store in Independence. It's those beaver trappers, fur trappers that are bringing their pelts, to be sold. They're the ones, that tried to kill. Well, okay. As Boggs is kind of recovering, he starts to get letters from all these different people. And as he gets letters from many, there's one letter that he goes, I believe this one. And it's written by a man named John C. Bennett. What do we know of John C. Bennett? Okay, he's now an apostate. Remember, he'd had problems with Orson Pratt's wife. Okay, so John C. Bennett now writes a letter to Boggs, and he says in the letter, he said, I know exactly who tried to kill you. He said, Joseph Smith has been prophesying for years that you would die a violent death. And Joseph has sent his #1 lifeguard. Today, we wouldn't call him a lifeguard, we'd say bodyguard. But that Joseph has sent his #1 lifeguard to kill you and make sure the prophecy then came true. Well, suddenly, when Boggs is able to speak, he now speaks loud. And he speaks loud through the newspapers that are literally carried everywhere. And what he now says is, Joseph Smith, the Mormon prophet, tried to kill me. Okay, what are the chances? Where is Joseph Smith May 4th, 2 days before he's shot? Okay, he's in Nauvoo. He's the mayor of the town. He's actually, on May 4th, for the first time, gave the endowment in this dispensation in his little red brick store there on Water Street. So suddenly you look, you'd say, not with the fastest horses in the world, could he ever get all the way to Independence to shoot the guy and then flee the state, and, okay. So with that, now you got a huge problem. For Joseph Smith, how does he find out that he's being accused of trying to kill Boggs? And the answer is he finds out via newspapers. So suddenly he picks up a newspaper, and it's a newspaper printed in Quincy. Okay, remember we talked about the States went to Quincy, and now they're up in Nauvoo. He picks up the newspaper from Quincy. He can't believe it. Boggs has been shot, and Boggs is fingering him, saying he's the one that shot me. Joseph Smith now tries to speak very loud too. And Joseph Smith, through newspapers, now literally writes back and actually writes a personal letter to Boggs saying, I didn't attempt to kill you, and actually, as now the mayor of Nauvoo, I will do everything in my power to make sure you get justice. In other words, I'm going to help out. Well, Boggs, you can imagine, because he's been shot, he gets the sympathy vote and will be elected to the Senate. In the meantime, Boggs now goes to Washington, D.C. And there in Washington, D.C., recall he gets the, kind of questionable nickname. And his nickname was Man Whose Head is Full of Balls. And you're like, wow, that's an incredibly long, not like Johnny, Willie. And it's because as he would stand up on the Senate floor, he had the habit of playing with his skin. And suddenly push and pull, and here would come out a little lead ball, and he'd say, see, I've been shot. They'd say, oh, truly, sir, you are a man whose whole head is filled with balls. Well, okay. In the meantime, however, he is very anxious that Joseph Smith now stand trial. In other words, he's been hurt, and he wants justice. Okay, how come they just can't arrest Joseph in Illinois? Okay, what's the rules? Okay, good. What's the rules? Okay, he's crossed state lines. You've all seen those old movies, Dukes of Hazzard. You get to the border, and suddenly the criminal goes free, or the criminal. And for Joseph Smith, you'd say, as long as he is in Illinois, he can't be taken to the state of Missouri legally. So in Illinois, he can be a mayor. He can even run for president of these United States. but he steps across the Mississippi River and he goes over to Missouri, and suddenly, remember those 27 charges against him? In the state of Missouri, everything from you've stolen an alarm clock to murder, treason against the United States. Suddenly, you'd say now has another charge, attempted assassination now of a former governor. Hey everyone, momentary pause. Okay, so did I ever do anything good in my life? And I'd say, well, I gave birth to the real handsome man that just walked in. And this is my great son Brian and his family. Here's Lisa, and this is Savvy Joe. And Brian lives in Huntington Beach and has concluded that's not beautiful enough. He just needed to come here.
So aloha.
Anyway, I'm delighted to have him here. So momentary, they could probably fill in the blanks, but we're going to catch you guys up to what we just did. Okay, let's see how we do on filling in the blanks. Okay, May 6, 1842, who's shot?
Governor Boggs.
Okay, Governor Boggs. And he teeters between life and death. He was shot with a lot of little lead. Where did the lead go when he's shot? Okay, it's from his face, down into his chest, most in his neck. And you get, suddenly he screams, family comes in. He now teeters between life and death. Many people suggest, hey, as the assailant now gets away, many people now try to say, here's who killed you. What are some of their reasons they're coming up with? Okay, you have political enemies. You have what other kind of enemies? Okay, financial. You have the beaver hunters. You haven't been giving back the right amount, on the various fur that's come in. But finally, a letter from who convinced, okay, who wrote the letter? John C. Bennett. Who does Bennett say, oh, this man tried to kill the governor? Joseph Smith. And, okay, and all right, so with that, how come Joseph can't be brought to trial in the state of Missouri in that time? Okay, he's not in the same state. So we all remember Dukes of Hazzard, how they can just get so far, and the policeman is then suddenly steps over state lines. And in the case of Joseph, he could go on being a mayor, but if he ever steps back into Missouri, how many charges has he got against him? He's got 27 for Liberty Jail and what put him in there, and all of a sudden here's 28 because of possible assassination attempt. Well, okay. So you realize Boggs has a problem. How in the world is he ever going to get justice for having been shot? And, he's got the sympathy vote. He's now elected to the Senate of Washington, D.C. How are you going to get justice when you got a guy over here? Any ideas? Okay, you got to kidnap him, right? Okay, but, he's a politician. He can't dirty his hands in something like that. Well, for Boggs, he's got a friend in town, and it's a sheriff there in Independence, Missouri. And Sheriff Joseph Reynolds. Sheriff Joseph Reynolds is now called in to see Boggs when he returns from one of those Senate sessions in Washington, D.C. As the sheriff comes to see him, the sheriff has always done his dirty work. And you know how you go, hey, I can't get my hands dirty, but you do it and I'll pay you off. And so the sheriff wants to know, okay, now what? And Boggs says, well, I got a job for you. I want you to go over to the next state. I want you to go up to a town that's now rivaling Chicago in size. And the town's named Nauvoo. And I want you to kidnap the mayor. And all you have to do, you get him across the river. You drop him into any little town in the state of Missouri. That's it. And suddenly, a justice of the peace, we hold him, and there's a trial, and I will have justice because, in essence, Boggs had been shot.